Okay, great. Welcome, everyone. Welcome today. I know it looks like there's some people coming in. We might have a few stragglers coming in, but I wanted to get started right away because we have a great presentation for you today. This is the midweek presentation for Aging in Place Week 2021. And we got a bunch of people from California on the call today, although Joe, who is usually in San Diego, is in Hawaii today. So Micki is going to be our guest speaker. She is with Senior Medicare Patrol, but Joe and I met through LinkedIn, and he has a podcast in San Diego called Living to 100, and he had me on as a guest, and I brought some of our NAIPC members on. We had a great time, and I thought he would be a great person to do a little introduction and set us up for Micki's presentation. So if you have any questions or comments, please be sure to put them in the chat box, and Joe will get to those at the end of Micki's presentation. So thank you all for joining us, and thanks, Joe, for joining us from Hawaii.
Aloha. Thank you, Tara. Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be a part of this program as Tara. So I'm going to speak slowly. I think my internet connection is a little bit unstable, so bear with me if you can. I met Tara, as she said, through LinkedIn, and I invited Tara to talk about aging in place on one of my podcasts. As she said, a little background about myself. I'm a psychologist, technically a geropsychologist, somebody who works with seniors. And I spent my entire career working with older adults, mostly in nursing homes.
I think we might have officially lost him.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe, yep, we lost him. Okay.
Oh dear.
Well, he would have been a great little introduction, but I'll go ahead and let Micki take over. I know you have a lot of information to share with everyone. So Micki, thanks for joining us today.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Tara. Yeah, I hope he comes back. Hi, everybody. I think he's coming back.
Yeah.
Tara, can you hear him?
It's not working on my end at all. I think we'll have
can
to
see you. Can you? Yeah. Okay.
We'll have to.
I apologize. Sorry. I'll stay on. Maybe my connection will improve.
Okay. Thanks, Joe.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Hi, everybody. I can't see everybody's faces because some of you just show your names. So I'm not sure if I'm talking to all Medicare beneficiaries, but it really doesn't matter because all of this information is critical, whether or not you are on Medicare, you have a relative that's on Medicare, or you are caring for somebody who is on Medicare, or if you're not on Medicare yet, but you're really, really concerned about the solvency of the Medicare Trust Fund. This would be very appropriate information for all of you. So, as Tara said, the presentation is all about healthcare fraud. And basically what I do is I let people know what the risks are out there that potentially can jeopardize people's health, safety, and well-being, and what they can do to protect themselves from being a victim of the fraudsters. So let's see. Alrighty, moving along here. Before we get to current fraud trends, I think this is a really good case that I wanted to give you as an example of how egregious and serious Medicare fraud actually is. This was a case that the Department of Justice announced just a couple of weeks ago. It's a case about a doctor from Michigan who was convicted not yes sentenced, but convicted of Medicare fraud. Over the course of several years, fraudulently billing Medicare for over $100 million in false Medicare claims. How did he do this? Well, he operated several pain clinics and laboratories in the state of Michigan. And when people came to his clinics, he actually forced them to undergo unnecessary, unneeded back injections and nerve block injections in exchange for opioids, which is basically why they came there. In fact, he was such a prolific biller of false claims. From 2012 to 2017, he billed Medicare for all these unnecessary, medically unnecessary and unneeded back injections. He billed more than any other doctor providing that kind of service in the entire country. And between 2016 and 2017, he prescribed more oxycodone than any other doctor in his state. He was quite the prolific provider. All of these people that came to him for opioids had to undergo these torturous back injections in order to get their drugs. If they said, I really don't want the back injection, he withheld the drugs. Simple as that. People that did submit to the procedures said that it was horribly, horribly painful. And in many instances, the people had to undergo multiple back injections, which left holes in their backs that didn't heal. That, my friends, is serious Medicare fraud. Now, I wish I could tell you that this was an isolated case, an anomaly. It's not. Let me give you a couple of other horrible examples of Medicare fraud. The guy on your left-hand side is Farid Fatah. Farid Fatah was a very well-respected oncologist, hematologist from Detroit. He had laboratories all over the city. People came to him all over to see if they had cancer or for other medical necessities. Well, Farid Fatah decided that he wasn't making enough money from Medicare. And so over the course of several years, he administered poisonous chemotherapy drugs to people who did not have cancer. People would walk into his clinic, have other complaints. One guy in his 90s came into the clinic. As he walked through the door, he actually tripped on the threshold, fell, hit his head, and as he is bleeding profusely from his forehead, and the medical staff is saying, we have to get him to the emergency room, Fatah said, not until he gets his chemo. That's how diabolical a Medicare fraudster is. The guy on the right-hand side is Selman Melgen. Melgen was a very well-respected or ophthalmologist in the state of Florida, but he also got greedy. And so when his elderly patients came in to have their eyes checked, Melgen told them that they had these serious retinal diseases, which they did not. But because he diagnosed them with those serious diseases, he then administered torturous retinal laser procedures. Very, very harmful, very painful, which they didn't need anyway. And he billed Medicare for over $70 million. Again, the horrible face of Medicare fraud. Now, there's a lot in the news about Medicare fraud, which is great because people need to know. When people are enrolled in Medicare, they don't get a lot of information about their healthcare benefits, their coverage, and they certainly don't get any information about fraud and scams. This was a couple of articles that were in the LA Times recently. One of them deals with hospice fraud, end-of-life care fraud, which we're going to talk about. And the other one talks about COVID scams, which I think you probably know are rampant across the country. So let's first talk about what we do at the Senior Medicare Patrol and what we see in current fraud trends. We have a hotline for the state of California. And in the state of California, our toll-free hotline receives about 500 calls a year. And basically, we track all of the calls that we get, and then we track current fraud trends. So here you see about 18 months worth of calls. And if you look at the graph carefully, you can see our number one complaint, Medicare Advantage plan and agent misconduct. So we'll talk about that. I want to set it aside for a sec. Number two, there's the Medicare hospice fraud, the deceptive hospice enrollments. The third highest, the infamous durable medical equipment back brace scam. And then the trending, the one that actually is number one across the country, the fraud trend is what we call the genetic testing scam. And we're going to talk in detail about each of these. So let's first talk about hospice fraud. And in the text box on the right-hand side of your screen, there's some really interesting and actually relatively new information about hospice and California. Southern California, unfortunately, has the dubious distinction of being the hotbed of hospice fraud. There are more hospices in California, especially Southern California, than there are all in the state of New York or the state of Florida. In fact, there was an investigation by the LA Times recently that found that just in 3 California cities, there were over 160 hospices. And if you look at the state of New York or Florida, you find less than 50. So we're way higher in the amount of hospice agencies that we have in California. Unfortunately, not only that, we have the highest number of poorly performing hospices. Now, it's bad enough when people are deceived into signing up for hospice. But when the hospice is poorly performing, and we know that the whole purpose of the hospice entity is to provide comfort care for people who are going to die soon, that's really, really sad. We also, in California, lead the country in the number of fraudulent enrollments. And this is basically how it happens. So if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, what we're talking about here is the typical victim that gets tricked into signing up for hospice. We have people who will go visit their local food bank, or they will go to the local Stater Brothers or Albertsons, or they get a knock on their door in their apartment. And somebody will tell them that there is a special program that Medicare allows for people who are older, and it's called hospice. And if you sign up for hospice, you can get free groceries, free insure, free diapers. You might even be able to get a hospital bed, which quite frankly is very difficult to get. And you can get all the home nurse and doctor visits that you need. All you need to do is sign the paperwork. Well, unfortunately, people do sign the paperwork. Now, these people are not terminally ill, so they are not eligible for Medicare hospice. but they're tricked into it because, quite frankly, they don't understand what hospice is. Now, if they get a home visit, like to check their blood pressure, it's usually by an unskilled technician. I mean, these agencies are doing horrible, horrible, illegal things. They're not going to send good people. And Medicare pays thousands and thousands of dollars under each of these unique Medicare numbers that, quite frankly, they're stealing. And when an individual gets enrolled in Medicare and they're not supposed to be, it is very, very difficult to unravel all of the confusion around the indicator on their Medicare record. It takes a long time. And while we're unraveling all of this, the people who were tricked into signing up for hospice but don't need to be there are denied the curative services that they have to have. So if they're not terminally ill, but they're tricked into signing up for hospice, they find that they can't get the medications that they need from the pharmacy. They can't see their regular doctor. In many instances, they have been forced to suspend or cancel needed surgeries. So they're denied the health care that they need because they've been victimized by the fraudsters. Now, the number one scam that's trending across the country is now what we call the cardiac genetic test scam. Now, this dates back in 2019. A lot of people were victimized by going to a health fair, and in the health fair, they would go up to a booth, and the booth person would say, hey, Medicare wants you to have this free test. And they would offer up a Q-tip, and they would say, okay, do a little cheek swab and give me your Medicare number, and we'll make sure that the laboratory sends you all the results. Now, people didn't get any results, but they sure got their Medicare numbers compromised. Well, here it is back again in 2021 under the name cardiac genetic testing. And basically, since we're not having a lot of health fairs because of the pandemic, the telemarketers and the criminals are going on the phone and telephoning people, masquerading as Medicare, telling people that Medicare wants them to have this cardiac genetic test, and all they need to do is give up their Medicare number. And unfortunately, people are doing it. And these are some of the calls that we get and the people that have been trapped. Okay. One lady said she got a call about a cardiovascular test, and the person who called her had her name, her address, even knew some of her health concerns, which she believed. And they said they're going to send her a swab stick package in the mail, but they first had to verify her Medicare number. And unfortunately, she gave it up. Another call that we got recently said, you know, I got a call from my health plan. And the individual said that my health plan said I had to submit to this cardiac swab test or I may lose my benefits. So she gave them her Medicare number as well. And unfortunately, what happens, you know, once they give up this information, they truly believe that they've done something, they start thinking and they think, oh my gosh, maybe I have done something wrong. What's going to happen to my Medicare now? It's a horrible situation. People are frightened. They're humiliated. This is elder abuse. And in many instances, we're getting calls from people who are saying, you know, I got a call from an individual, but they seem to know an awful lot about me. How did that happen? Well, let me share some interesting information with you. This is a case that the Department of Justice announced recently. It was a conviction, a woman in Los Angeles who owned a wheelchair and scooter repair store. She was a Medicare provider. Now, as a Medicare provider, she has access to what they call the eligibility clearinghouse. which shows if Medicare beneficiaries are eligible for certain things. Well, this woman gave 2 criminal fraudsters access to this clearinghouse by giving up her ID and password. She actually sold over 500,000 records, 500,000 Medicare beneficiaries' information to these 2 criminals who are now using this information to call people and trick them into giving up their Medicare information. So basically, we all know there is no such thing as privacy. There are security breaches. There's all kinds of ransomware. We all know that our private information is all over the internet. And now we have people who have insider information giving it up to the criminals. Now, another scam, and this has been around for a long time, is what we call the back brace scam. It is what we have right here on this screen. Telemarketers sit in call centers every day, all day, dialing, hoping to get somebody on the phone where they can trick the person into believing they're calling for Medicare and that they want to give out a free back brace. And all you need to do is give up your Medicare number. And basically, that's exactly what people do. They give up their information. Now, the interesting thing about this particular scam is the criminals are now taking advantage not only of the medical supplies and how much money they can make fraudulently, but they're also taking advantage of the waivers that Medicare has put in place for things like telemedicine and telehealth. So not only are they tricking people into giving up their Medicare information, they're also billing Medicare falsely, not only for the medical equipment that they're not sending out, but also adding a claim for telehealth or telemedicine consultation. You see, the criminals are always one step ahead of us. Now, this is, as I said on the graph, our #1 complaint in California. It's what we call marketing misconduct. Now, here's the idea. Medicare Advantage Plan insurance agents and brokers have a set of rules that Medicare puts out. And Medicare says there are certain things that agents and brokers cannot do. They can't cold call you. They can't come to your door and say, hey, I've got the best plan since sliced bread. They can't do certain things. And yet we have Advantage Plan brokers and agents who break the rules. And then we have all of the TV commercials. Now, everybody has seen Joe Namath on television hawking Medicare Advantage plans and all the money that you can save and all the money you can get back off your Social Security and all the great benefits and the freebies that you don't want to miss out on. And all of these commercials are doing is getting people to call the insurance agents. Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, what happens is when people call the insurance agents, many times they get misleading information. They get routed into a plan that may not be the best plan for them. In fact, there was a recent study by the Commonwealth Fund, and I gave you the attribution down at the bottom of the screen. It's an article that they did after researching Medicare and the impact on the beneficiary relative to agent commissions. And what they found was that differing commission rates could force agents to choose between making money for themselves and helping beneficiaries choose the right coverage. Yeah. So what I tell people, instead of going to an insurance agent first and believing everything they say, there are organizations out in every state of the country. They're called state health insurance programs. In California, they're known as HICAP, Health Insurance Counseling and Advocacy Program. They're local agencies. They know all about the Advantage plans in their county. They provide free counseling. And importantly, all the information that they provide is 100% unbiased, so that people get the accurate skinny about all the Medicare Advantage plans that are available and can make informed choices. People are getting tricked into calling up the toll-free number that Joe Namath gives out. And these are some of the things that happen. Beneficiaries give out their Medicare numbers because they're told when they call the toll-free number that they need to give out their Medicare number in order to get coverage, pricing, and details. Not true. That's a violation, but it happens. Somebody received a cold call from an insurance representative, and he lied because he said that he was affiliated with her doctor. You're not allowed to do cold calling. And then there's a broker that actually shared with us, another broker, and the questionable marketing that they were doing, resulting in an elderly woman's change to her dental coverage when she absolutely had no idea why it was changed. So there are rules, and we have to be really concerned. And I want to tell people, you know, the majority of insurance agents are good people. They're honest people. They have integrity. But there is a reason why marketing misconduct is our #1 complaint. And this is who we are. We are the Senior Medicare Patrol. We are grant funded through the federal government, Department of Health and Human Services. And when we get grants, our mission is to educate, to let people know about Medicare and Medicare fraud and scams, and all of the criminals that are out there trying to get their Medicare numbers to bill Medicare fraudulently. So we do an awful lot of presentations and education. We put out fraud alerts in 9 languages. We do educational webinars. We host a toll-free hotline for the state of California. We assist people when they look at their medical statements and see something that just does not sound right. And our mission is to research potential fraud issues and refer them on to law enforcement. Because if we don't report them, we can't get the bad guys out of the system. And any of you have another organization that you belong to, a church, a synagogue, a professional association, and you're interested in this kind of information, I'm happy to do a presentation for you. We work really closely with a lot of different agencies, not only federal, national, state agencies, all sorts of professional advocacies. And we put together, with the help of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, a placemat that talks about the tips that people need to know about protecting their Medicare. This placemat is available at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau website, available for free for downloading. And let me speak really briefly about COVID, because we have seen such an incredible uptick in the amount of scams ever since COVID and the pandemic arrived. In fact, our investigators tell us that they've identified almost 100,000 malicious websites with common names that people would recognize, like Moderna, Regeneron, Remdesivir, trying to hook people into the website in order to give up their Medicare information, their social security number, their credit card information, because these malicious websites claim to offer testing and vaccines and protective supplies. And all they're doing is collecting personal, private information to make money from the scams. This, on the left-hand side of your screen, is a scam vaccine survey. This is a scam that went out on email and social media saying to people, hey, once you've had the vaccine, you can take a survey and you can get a reward, a gift card of up to $120 in value. And when people click on it to take the survey, they are asked to put in a lot of private information, including their bank account information, under the guise of having that $120 reward automatically deposited into their bank account. It's a scam, but people are falling for it. So here's a very simple list of things to know to protect yourself and your loved ones. First, be wary of anything free that anybody offers you, especially if they say they're from Medicare. Always consult your own doctor if you need healthcare services or supplies. Don't ever share your Medicare number with anybody other than your trusted providers. In fact, if you are carrying your red, white, and blue card in your wallet, I would suggest that you put it somewhere securely and do not carry it with you. Don't trust a name or a phone number that shows up on your phone display. The criminals and the scammers know how to manipulate the telephone system to make it look like their calls are coming from Medicare. They could put in Social Security. They could put in the local police department, whatever it takes for you to pick up that telephone. And importantly, how do you protect yourself? How do you know if your Medicare number has been compromised? Well, quite frankly, the only way that you would know is by reviewing the medical statements that you get, either Medicare summary notices or explanation of benefits from your HMO. Those medical statements, you need to treat them like your credit card statement or your bank account statement. You look at those carefully, religiously, to make sure that it's only the purchases that you have made. Same thing with your medical statements, to make sure that it's only the services or supplies you have received. And then if you see something that doesn't look right, you've gotten a scam call and you think maybe your Medicare number has been compromised, report fraud to us. And if you could take a snapshot of that toll-free 855 number, keep it handy, let people know that we're here to help. Okay, this is the Medicare summary notice that people get every 90 days if they're on original Medicare. And they need to, like I said, review it carefully. Do I recognize that doctor? Did I actually get this kind of service? Just carefully review. So let me just end by saying, we have a California Master Plan on Aging. Governor signed it with the realization that in just a short amount of time, 8 years or so, 25% of Californians are going to be considered older adults. And we need a plan for how to protect and provide resources to those individuals. There are goals in that plan. Number 2 goal is to optimize quality of life. Number 3, to protect from abuse, neglect, and exploitation. And number 5 goal, to have economic security. And I would submit to you that unless we protect people from abuse, neglect, and exploitation, we're not going to have quality of life or economic security. So I want to thank you guys for your attention, and I'm happy to take any questions.
That was great, Micki. Thank you so much. I know that we did have one question. Are you going to share your slides? Would you be
I'm happy to send Tara the slides and especially the contact information for anybody who wants more information or a presentation. And I understand from Tara that it's going to be on YouTube and Facebook.
Yes, we have an NAIPC-TV channel on YouTube, so it will be housed up there. But if you send me the slides, when I send everyone the link with the recording, I'll be sure to attach that in there. So we'll get that out to everyone. And if you're watching this on YouTube and want a copy of the slides, just email us at naipc@ageinplace.org. So do we have any questions? Any comments?
Hope I didn't scare people.
No, you know, the hospice thing is something that hits close to home for me. I didn't realize that here in Orange County or Southern California that the scams were that high, but I know that as physical therapists who go into the home, a lot of times we get calls from people who are on hospice, but didn't realize they were on hospice. So now I know who to call to help them get that situation squared away. So thank you for sharing that. That was great information. Anyone, any comments? Oh, Mary Ann, she's a new member in Massachusetts. Hi there.
Hi, thank you. This is very informative. Do you know, I'm in Massachusetts. Do you know of any agencies in Massachusetts?
Yes, Marianne, I'm so glad that you asked. There is a Senior Medicare Patrol in Massachusetts, in fact, in every state. So if you do a Google search and just call it Senior Medicare Patrol, the other way to do it, I see you writing down, so write down this, SMP, that's SMP resource.org. That'll take you to the page where all of the state agencies are located, and you can find Massachusetts there.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm giving a presentation. I'm giving 2 presentations on senior financial abuse. And my research, didn't go into the Medicare fraud. I didn't know a lot of this stuff. I know that there's Medicare fraud. I've heard about the doctors, but knocking on the door, asking for your card number. I'm on Medicare. I carry my card everywhere I go. That's not going to happen anymore. So this is great information. Thank you so much.
Super. Good. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, Marianne, I would love for you to share that presentation with us because it's so easy to just get caught up in it. I almost got caught up in a phone call that came through my phone, said Chase Fraud Department with the Chase Fraud number because I Googled it and it took me to their website. The second I started talking to the person, it was obvious that it wasn't Chase, but I see how people could easily get snagged right into that. So he had my information.
Yeah, and seniors are such big targets,
Yeah.
On so many levels, like, Medicare and so many levels. And so I've heard so many stories and I'm giving more presentations. So I'd love to do one for you guys someday.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you.
We do have national meetings the 3rd Thursday of every month for those of you who are new to NAIPC. So we would love to have you join us. We do a case study and then we have a main speaker. So this would be an excellent topic to do a case study on and have Marianne do your presentation. I think we would enjoy that. So we'll talk about that when we do our one-on-one next week. So that'll be great. So I just want to say thank you everyone for joining us today. This was such a great presentation, Micki. I'm so glad that we met and I hope you can come back and do more for us because I know you have a lot more to share that can help us help our seniors. So we have 2 more events this week. Tomorrow, our Atlanta chapter is doing a presentation on what is aging in place. And then on Friday, our closing presenter is Steve Toll with Comfort Care. He is doing a music therapy session on connecting with seniors through music. So I hope to see you all there. And we'll definitely bring Joe back another time and he can tell us about his podcast and everything that he's got going on there. I know that he's been interacting with our San Diego chapter. So I know we're going to see you again, Joe. And thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you later. Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.